Clancy has pleaded not guilty in the 2023 deaths of her 3 young children, but she does not deny killing them. Her lawyers argue she was suffering from severe postpartum psychosis and shouldn't be held criminally responsible. The high-profile trial has brought postpartum mental health into the spotlight.
Empowering to see so many women come together. It's empowering because you can show other women who are suffering in silence that they're not alone, and that more awareness is going to be brought to this. It's sad that she cried out for help in so many ways, and the system failed her.
They didn't have to die. If she could tell people she wasn't well and thought she'd hurt her babies, she could have brought them to grandma's and said, take care of the babies, I gotta go somewhere to take care of myself, and she didn't. So I really feel that this was premeditated.
CBS News correspondent Shanelle Kaul has more from outside the Massachusetts courthouse.
So before the defense rested its case on Friday, we heard from their star witness, Dr. Philip Resnick. This is someone who is a forensic psychiatrist, also someone who testified in a number of high-profile trials, including, of course, Andrea Yates. When it comes to this case, he says he evaluated Lindsay Clancy 4 months after the night of the tragedy, and he says in his assessment she was going through postpartum psychosis the night all of this happened, and thus, he argues, she should not be held criminally liable. Listen.
She was hearing a voice which was commanding her to engage in the killing behavior, and she did not feel any sense of control. She felt that she had to obey the instructions she was receiving.
But immediately after Dr. Resnick's testimony wrapped up and the defense rested its case, as part of the prosecution's rebuttal, they brought in their own forensic psychiatrist who testified, and that medical expert said he didn't agree with that perspective. He said in his evaluation, in his perspective, Lindsay Clancy was undergoing what he called a major depressive episode the night all of this happened, and he said he found no signs of mania. Today, we're expecting to hear from 2 more medical experts that prosecutors plan to call to testify in front of jurors before closing arguments get underway. Back to you.
Shanelle Kaul, thank you. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson joins us live right now. So, Jessica, how might the jury weigh these 2 differing diagnoses of Clancy's mental state when she killed her 3 children?
Well, this obviously is key, and that's why the prosecution in its rebuttal is focusing on these psychological experts, because really we know this case comes down to what was in Lindsay Clancy's mind. Was she able to understand that what she was doing was wrong or criminal? Was she able to comport her behavior within the law? That's really the legal standard here. We know that when it comes to Massachusetts, the prosecution, once there's some question about criminality when it comes to her state of mind, we know that it's the prosecution who has the burden of showing that, in fact, that criminal liability can be imposed, that she was able to understand the wrongness of what she was doing, or she was able to comport her behavior within the boundaries of the law. And I think, obviously, when it comes to these battling experts, this will be hugely important for the jury in making that decision.
Yeah, and I'm hearing they just took a recess in court right now after finishing with the first rebuttal witness. But I'm curious, Jessica, what is each side hoping to achieve when it eventually comes to closing arguments in this case?
So obviously each side is looking at that legal standard that we just talked about. And for the defense, the key will be to show that you cannot impose criminal liability here. The defense and the prosecution in some ways are telling very similar stories, in some ways very different. Everybody understands that we're talking about somebody who is suffering greatly when it comes to mental illness. The question is whether it rises to that legal standard. And so the defense is saying this was psychosis. Listen to our experts. There was a command hallucination to kill her children. The prosecution is saying, here's somebody who is suffering from major mental illness, but not to the point where it rises to that legal standard. She was still able to plan. She was still able to take deliberate steps in her daily life.
And what is this trial going to come down to? Because we've seen even just outside the courthouse, a lot of people who support her and then some people who maybe are in the middle and then others who are completely against her. In your opinion, what do you think it's going to come down to?
I think that's such an important way to ask the question because everybody has a feeling about this case.
Yeah.
But that's not what the jury is supposed to do. Excuse me, that Mugo, as you know, that's not what the jury is supposed to do. It's not, do I feel sorry for her or was this a tragedy? This was a tragedy. The question, again, all comes down to that legal standard. And so it's not how many people outside the courtroom are supporting her, or are we now having a conversation about postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis? It's what was in Lindsay Clancy's mind at the time of the murder. Look at the legal standard. Is it satisfied?
Okay. Jessica Levinson, appreciate your time today.